Good afternoon. It is 3 o'clock here in the bright sunny state of Texas. And it is, in fact, my day off from work. I have worked for 8 straight days up until now. And now I've managed to actually get some decent sleep. So I'm feeling pretty good, actually. Or I would be if there wasn't some major announcements in my industry that kind of really shook things up. If you know, you know. Oof. That puts some complications into what I've been doing lately. But nothing that actually actively concerns me, at least for now. Today we are going back to working on this game design document and well, basically just the design, really, the design level stuff. For my entry into Boardgame Workshops, excuse me, I burped there. For my design entry into Boardgame Workshop's annual contest. Where was I? That's an excellent question. Let me see. If I recall correctly, last time we did this, I was still in the midst of. Let me see. Desktop. Design drafts. Right. Yeah, we had basically for artifact cards, the dungeon tiles. This is not encounter cards, but rather the encounter process. Okay, well, now we need to work on the actual encounter cards. So let's go ahead and pop open an A4. Oops, what am I doing? Okay, I didn't even know I could do that. Okay. This I want to put on this side. Okay, so it's all basically modular. Should have expected that. I should have expected that. Alright. So the whole thing about the encounter process, the design philosophy around that was that they would basically be a way to shake up a semi-controllable. That's the important bit there. They are a semi-controllable way to shake up the progress of a game, whether by adding new rules to the game, new forcing effects to change, forcing like either player to adapt to new circumstances in the game itself, temporary or permanent buffs, and so on and so forth. Both players will be providing encounter cards that they pre-pick before the game even starts. Mix them together in a pile, or rather in a deck, and then once they're ready, like every single time a turn ends, they get closer to triggering an encounter card, or they can force at the end of their turn to add to the encounter card's activation cost, a cumulative activation cost, the end of which would immediately cause, the moment that they reach full charge, the encounter card triggers and the effect is applied to the game. So not only do you have to explore the dungeon or make a dungeon to keep the player out of, but you also have to contend with the fact that every 3 to 4 turns or so, something drastic is going to happen that may throw all of your plans into chaos, or hopefully throw all of your opponent's plans into chaos. By nature, these should be cards that are unique to the player character you're playing, and because they happen relatively infrequently, although they can be sped up, they should also have significant impact once they do trigger. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and sketch that out. What will that actually look like as an end-game asset? Excuse me there, I'm still kind of tired. I had some caffeine, but it's been a long week for me. No, that's all. Wait. There we go. Alright. Encounter card. These should be relatively big, which means I actually want to look up. So, the best way to design a game, obviously, if you don't want to like make a whole bunch of custom components, is to see what's standardized out there. Standard playing card sizes. Alright, let me see what we have. Playing card specification and card. MakingPlayingCards.com is probably the most common resource for these kind of things. Let's see, we have poker size, bridge size, large size cards, tarot size cards. I'm kind of thinking tarot size cards are where we want to go with this. They tend to have the most elongated shapes. And also, there's a bit of resonance there, right? Because what we're doing is making like plot twists in the game's narrative. That every single time an event card pops off, the circumstances of the game are drastically changed. So tarot card sizes tickles my funny bone, basically. There's some there's some like thematic resonance in using those. Now, tarot card. Let me see. What are its dimensions? Here are. A tarot card is 2.75 inches by 4.75 inches. So ratio of 2.75 by 4.75. How do I make sure that comes out that way? What's the best way to do so? Well, actually, let me fix up some things first. Brush shape. No, pen is fine. What I want is roundness of curve. There we go. There's the preview. So that would make it an oval, basically. We don't want it completely sharp, but there should be some beveling around the edges. 5 sounds about right. Aspect type. Here we are. $2.75, $4.75. Oh, it should be the other way around. And there we go. Maintains the overall shape, but I could use a thicker brush size. That's better. Right. Tarot shaped event card. We'll want. So the way I wanted to have it is that they can see at any moment the overall progress of the event card, but not the what's actually going to come up. They can only dread what is going to be coming up next. So we have front and back. text size by a little bit. Okay, easy enough. Let's see, what's the best way to do it? I mean, let me see. We already used circle trackers for previous card. I'm not actually sure if that's the best way to lay them out. Like, after about a week of looking at this, the overall layout is correct. It just looks clunky, right, and unprofessional. Eventually, I have to feed this to somebody that actually knows graphic design and have them look over to see how they would present it. They might even decide that having like trackers around the borders just is not particularly elegant, in which case I would have to defer to them because I know how to do systems, but I don't necessarily I know how to do systems, language, and basic editorial stuff, but I have no idea what I'm doing with layout, which is fine. We all got our own expertise. But it is important. It's important that good, strong layouts. Layouts are important for readability, and for like intuiting what the rules actually want from you and what the game actually wants you to do from a moment to moment basis. So that's not to discount how important it is. It's quite the opposite. I want to eventually get the money together for proper graphic design. Eventually. Let's see if it passes the contest first. But speaking of which. So the way I want to do it. See if we can make orders we can do. Oops, right. Get in that layer. Let's do 5 charges. That's pretty much the only important thing to show on the front. The current charge tracker. In fact, I might want the whole thing in the center. Just thinking about it in terms of I know what to do. Mix it all together. There. Now they're one unit. Have a pocket element. And then, oof, that's a huge brush size. 10 will do. Opacity increase to max, drop down to black. What's a good visual representation of fate? We got hourglasses. We got the three Furies. Chains of Fate. Or just game logo. Either way, though, let me see. Oh wait, I shouldn't be using that layer. The whole plan was to be able to put it behind the tracker. Alright. Just some generic, like, fancy-ish looking, or speculative fancy looking stuff. I'm mostly just trying this to have an idea of what I generally want it to look like. But the number one rule is that this has to be on the back of everything. Every single edition of whatever game I make. And it just goes behind like that. Yeah. The most important element is the chart tracker here. At least on the front. Everything else on the back is generic. As long as the only thing that matters is that it's a consistent print, like how Magic always uses the same background card back art, no matter what. Even though there's actually, and I learned this a while ago, you can actually see a misprint in the original art that they've had to stick with ever since, because to change the card back would mean that you would be able to basically look at it back to see what card's being used. So no matter what, I guess got front and back switch around. That should be easy enough to fix though. Let's just drag the word element here. Even looks a little better, more stylish this way. Yeah. So the card back has to remain the same. The card front can be anything you want. But that also means that the number of charges it takes to activate the event card has to be consistent no matter what. This is one of those things that have to be baked in order to work physically as a card. What else? Alright. So that's the card front. What I want to do now, let me see, new layer. Yeah. Select this bit here. It's got side selection. And then just spray down in gray. apply master layer. Okay. Yep. All right. Basically, I just wanted to separate out the basically, I just wanted to make sure the text box was more legible, no matter what I put down there. Let me think. And also, you can put generic art behind the text, also having the text pop up clearly. I might not know graphic design, but I work with graphic designers, so at least have some of the most basic concepts and tools down. Well, probably not even the most basic, honestly, but I have picked up a couple tricks here and there. Ouch. Ingrown hair is the worst. I accidentally pressed. Oops. No, that's the wrong button. That's strange. Why is my preview showing the wrong part of the stream? Let me just reload. That should simplify things. Yeah, that does. Okay, where was I? Right, text. Sample text. I want to give an example of what happens when it triggers. In which case, I think I might actually want the... Actually, yeah. Let me shrink the actual rules text block down just a tiny bit. Oh, wrong one. There we go. What I want to do here, Myanmar doesn't seem right, modern doesn't seem right. Forty. That might work, but let's bump up to 10. Testing. It's all good. Let me think. This is difficult. I guess what I want to do here let's put an anchor point over here. Needs to be a little darker. Oh, text size up to 10. Yeah, there we go. Made a mistake on spelling there, couldn't quite clean it up. forte looks like handwriting, so that's why I chose it to for that particular section, because that is just pure flavor. In terms of the rules text, what shall we use? What's a nice clean? Rockwell's a little too thin. I have no idea if Simpson's even supported by others. I mean, worst comes to worst, you might as well just use Times New Roman, right? Sorry. I'm a little light on caffeine right now, and thinking this through is mostly just like thinking to myself, does this feel right? Is this a good idea? Does this seem like it would be fun to play against? Or at least like provide enough of a challenge, and like most of all, would it make sense to be this way? And am I leaving anything open to interpretation if I word it a certain way? Using like, you can tell the difference in a card game's like development team based on how they word their cards and like the history behind it, and like a lot of the like fundamental biases of their design team by how formally worded their word texts are, text boxes are. Magic, for instance, they respect the art of it because they have the most well developed competitive scene out of like all the card games out there. Like, you can't even say all the major card games because really it's just Magic out. It's just Magic amongst the traditional field. You look at places like Konami with Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Fantasy Flight Games with Netrunner and everything else. You see that there tends to be a little looseness. Because for a lot of them, what they want you to do is just whatever seems fun at a time, right? Like whatever comes off as hype. What they fail to do a lot of times that Magic does very well is make sure that everybody is on board on what that actually means from moment to moment, from interaction to interaction. Interpretive looseness and Netrunner especially. No, not Netrunner. Netrunner is actually pretty good about that, except for like a lot of edge cases. No. They actually have some really bad ones. Interpretive looseness with Netrunner and with Legion of the Five Rings got pretty bad. They needed a lot of errata pages in order to cover like what they actually meant the card to do versus what's actually written down on the card. Yu-Gi-Oh's even worse though, because they use like 4-point font for everything now, because all the rules, like the basic layout of the cards themselves haven't changed, but the complexity of the mechanics they want to use keeps on changing. Magic has it very, very good. Sure, it's not the most exciting read, but the combination of using both keywords as summations of like standard effects and very, very diligent formalized languages means that it's often the case that as soon as you read the card, you both understand what's going to happen, and how and why, without like a whole lot to dispute. And that's something I want to emulate. I think it's important. Coming from a competitive background, even if it's casual play, even if you're just busting out a tabletop box, playing between friends, it's so much more fun if everybody, like, so much more satisfying experience if the rules themselves are not in dispute, and merely the course of action you've chosen to take, right? You're fighting against the other player. You don't want to be fighting in the court of law over like how something's supposed to resolve and what the writer actually meant when he said that, when he gave X rule or Y dimensions to the event. It just makes a lot more sense that way. So that's why I'm hesitating over here right now, because the language I put down like sets the precedence for how the card's supposed to come out. You can be as loose and like emotive and flavorful as you want with this section, which is just flavor text, but you absolutely need to show discipline and like strictness in your wording and the actual effect text. So I'm struggling with that a little bit. Plus I'm a little tired. I haven't really had a lot of caffeine. I had like one Coke Zero. Oh, sorry, I need to blow my nose. Let me mute myself a little bit. So yeah, where was I? Right. Oops. I need to actually click on it. Alright. Should be fully black. What was the overall effect I wanted again? Let me double check something. I'm looking. Oh, that's opening word. I don't want that. LibreOffice. LibreOffice, I guess. Let's see. Excuse me. Did I write down what kind of threads there are? I did not. Or maybe I did. Let me see. I did not. And there's also some design decisions that require a rewrite of the original concept document. Which is fine. Maybe it was in the other document. Let me double check. Ooh. I'm surprised at how much I've already done on this thing. Maybe some turn structures. Let me see. Install, encounter, let's see. No, I have not in fact. Okay. Working on that can be just part of the next asset development stream. But I should write it down right now to make sure I remember what I'm looking for. Okay, first of all, why did that change? There we go. That looks pretty good, actually. So I'm setting up here that there are going to be different types of encounters that they have, challenges they have to face, right? Where did that F come from? There. Okay. All non-construct warden challenges have +1 strength. So this event basically means, well, once this event is triggered, it makes all of the warden type challenges harder to overcome. And when you do overcome them, it takes more energy to overcome them over time. Because eventually your entire party is riddled with doubt as to the justice of their cause. And merely going back to the inn and getting drunk doesn't remove what they've learned about the enemies that they are fighting. So here we have a permanent effect that is basically pro DM. Once this is triggered, it becomes a lot harder to pick fights with actual living entities, at least if you are the hero party. So presumably this means that this came from the DM's deck because they were designed specifically for encounters. They were designing their dungeon specifically to fill itself up with a whole bunch of warden-based encounters. So you're fighting against goblins, orcs, minor demons, bears, whatever. But somewhere along the way, the plot twist is that the player party learned that what they're fighting aren't just like permanently chaotic, evil, non-sapient creatures, but something that they are inclined to respect or to have sympathy for or to pity for whatever reason. And it becomes harder to harden their hearts against what they intend to slay in order to bypass their dungeon challenges. So they are much more likely to face off against they're much more willing to face off against traps or mystic enchantments and stuff like that, or constructs, because who cares about golem? They're not thinking creatures, they're just machines. But non-constructs, that becomes a different story. Having the most powerful sword in all the world means diddly squat if every swing of it leaves you saddled with doubt whether or not you're doing the right thing. And that's the sort of flavor I want to go with. You think you're just on an isekai adventure. Your actions have consequences, and now you're going to suffer. So a little bit of suffering every single time the event card goes off is exactly how I want it to be. I think I did a pretty good job with the overall flavor here. Yep. And it just took me a fucking hour to do so. Jesus, I'm so slow. Um, I can go for about an hour and 20 minutes, I think. Or about an hour 15. But yeah, let's just save this. In fact, now that we have this design specifying what you're facing in dungeon, let's actually design those dungeon cards. No, what this? Do we have? Or maybe we do it next time. I was thinking of whether I want to stream to 420 as a joke, but I don't have a joke lined up. I don't partake, probably because it'll still illegal in Texas. I wouldn't mind a brownie though. I wonder if it would actually help the creative process, or whether or not. Okay, the last time I've had anything related to this day, it just left me a giggly mess. I wasn't able to like string coherent thoughts together, and there's this really weird time distortion sensation where I couldn't tell if an hour had passed or a whole minute. And later on in the process, it felt like my skin was crawling under its own will. Fuck, man, drugs are weird. So I don't partake very often. In fact, it's been a damn long time. But it has been an hour here. So I think I'll stop. I think I will stop and honestly get a haircut. It's been a while. Yeah. I didn't have any honesty today, which is fine. I'm mostly just like a self-reminder. I'm doing this to keep myself accountable in the design process. To have to be able to explain exactly why and how I'm designing certain things, the fundamental philosophy behind my decisions, and to collect all of these self-ramblings later on to make sure that I can later look back and say, yeah, that was a good idea, or no, what the hell was I talking about? It's been okay amount of fun. But I should really, really hurry up and get the video together for the contest entry, because that is only in a couple weeks. So yeah, reminder to self, get the script ready and start to narrate it. Okay, well, tomorrow I'll be doing more design, and there may or may not be a guerrilla stream along the way. I had to think about it. I was thinking whether or not I want to do something related to my client work, but honestly that's dangerous. I don't want to give away too much. Next week, there'll be something interesting related to the interview I had with Apex Legends. Hopefully we'll see you soon. I will talk to you all later. Thank you for watching if you're seeing this in the future. And until then, eat well, my friends.